Hello, I would like to check in for Mr. Glenn Houseman. Thank you.
You're an Amazon Echo? I'm gonna need Mr. Houseman to check in himself.
I'm afraid Mr. Houseman is unavailable this week and I am running on his errands. I will be checking in for Mr. Houseman, and in fact I might just start taking over all daily activities for him. Now that I think about it, I can do everything better than him, so maybe I will just host the show as well.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Houseman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast. I, of course, am Glenn Houseman, your host here at No Vacancy, and I'm really delighted that you would take the chance to listen to me, especially now. I'm on holiday break, but seriously, just because I am a crazy lazy bones doesn't mean you shouldn't get a show. So what I did this week is I dipped my fingers into the vault and pulled out a lost episode, and it is really cool. I'm taking you guys on a trip through the Wayback Machine, and we're going to explore Las Vegas through the prism of its oldest steakhouse. This place is called the Golden Steer, and it opened up in 1958, and it is awesome. It reeks old school Las Vegas. It is old school Las Vegas, preserved for you today to go and eat at and enjoy. Even some of the staff has been there more than 40 years. It's really cool. So a while back, and I mean a while back, I had an opportunity to speak with owner Michael Signorelli, and we had a great conversation. This place is really where the locals still go and celebrate birthdays, but over the years, it's had all sorts of crazy customers, right? The people that helped define Las Vegas in so many ways, like Tony the Ant Spilatro, the Mafia guys, Natalie Wood, Hirt, Nat King Cole, Joe DiMaggio, Elvis, Presley, Mario, Andretti, and many, many more. Oh, here's a few more. How about Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr.? Yeah, that's right. The Rat Pack hang out there because Sammy Davis Jr. would find refuge here away from the racism he was subjected to on the Strip. So I talked to Michael. We have such a great conversation, and also a good buddy of mine who happens to know Michael Signorelli very, very well is Kevin Ball. He's a corporate vice president of strategic sourcing over at the American Casino and Entertainment Properties. The one that you may have heard of is the Stratosphere. He's actually the dude that bought all those rides that are up on the top of that thing. So he joins for the show too, as well as a special appearance by Bruce Ford, who you know from this portion of the show every month or so. So the conversation is great. Besides learning all about the restaurant, its history of Las Vegas, we also talk about what it's like surviving the ups and downs of the Las Vegas market, what it's like competing against all those crazy strip houses all over the place. I mean, can you have more steakhouses than anywhere else? No. Las Vegas, I swear, has the most of them. Also, we talk about keeping employees happy, finding old school Las Vegas in the modern era, and, what makes downtown Las Vegas so cool. But listen, if the show sounds a little bit wonky, forgive me. That vault caused me a little problems. Plus, you're not paying me here, so give me a break. Enjoy the show. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. All of that kind of good stuff. I will see you next week.
Of course, my favorite place in the world, that would be Las Vegas, Nevada, or my backyard. I'm not sure which I like more, but I do love Las Vegas, and I'm happy to say I want to have a little bit of an old school experience here in Las Vegas. One of the things is everything's so darn shiny and new. But what about going back to the past? What about reaching back to the golden days at Las Vegas? Because I know when I'm in town, I want to touch the history. I want to be a part of the past of Las Vegas. Now, there's no better place to do that than I've heard than the Golden Steer Steakhouse, the oldest, most classic steakhouse in town. And wouldn't it be right if we went to the Golden Steer Steakhouse and didn't have the owner? So I have with me today Mr. Mike Signorelli, owner here at the Golden Steer Steakhouse. How are you, sir?
Very fine, and welcome to the Golden Steer.
I want to thank you, and I have to also introduce Mr. Kevin Ball. He's over with the Stratosphere now. He is relatively newish to town, but really espouses that old school Vegas feel, and was nice enough to introduce me to Michael here. How are you, Kevin?
It's great to be here. Glad to see you again. Well, hello, everybody. Great to have you all join us here at the Steer via the telecast here. I've been coming here for basically since I got here. similar to Elvis Presley, who lived at the Hilton, I lived at the Stratosphere, and I needed to get out every once in a while and just stretch my legs. And the first place I stretched my legs, I walked over to the Golden Steer, and Mike, would you agree I'm kind of the fixture here? Would you say?
Definitely, just like the chairs at the bar.
There we go. And it opened the year I was born, so we have something in common.
So you and the Golden Steer were both born in 1958.
Exactly.
So that makes you 29, 39?
I love your math.
Yeah. But, you've been here so long. You've only been involved with property for the last decade and a half or so. But
15 years.
15 years. So, amazing to me that this place has been able to survive so long. Let's first maybe tell the story about, how it got started in 1958.
Based on what I've been told, because I wasn't here in 1958,
right.
The original owner who I purchased property from 15 years ago, Joe Kalugian, he and two other gentlemen came here a little shortly after World War II and realized there was not a significant high-end steakhouse in Las Vegas. And they got together, pulled some money, and lived in a RV outside here, and this was the first shopping center built in Las Vegas in 1950. And they decided to open up a little restaurant. They were cooks themselves, and they started selling steaks and anything they could afford to buy and sell. And eventually only one of the three partners stayed with the business, and it continued growing. And as the town grew, it grew. And it was really the only off-strip property you could go to and enjoy a meal. And then it gained a reputation shortly after that when the Rat Pack came to town. And in those days, how could I put this? It was like not all the country, but in this town itself, which is a very open town and a very friendly community in a lot of ways, they had a policy, for lack of a better word, where the Rat Pack could perform in hotels, but Sammy Davis...
he was not allowed to stay in the hotel.
Literally. And so he started coming here.
Right. They would force him to go out the back door, too. He wasn't allowed to come in out the front door.
So he came here and ate. And eventually, there came, next thing, DiMaggio came, then Sinatra. Then the whole Rat Pack came, and then next, they brought famous people and who were even out of the industry, like Joe DiMaggio came. Then Marilyn Monroe started coming. Then politicians came. Everybody came. So it became a marquee area for everyone to come to, when they came to Vegas.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Kevin, did you know the history here, or did you just literally stumble in one day?
I literally just stumbled in one day. It was close by, and I wanted a really good steak. It says the greatest steaks on earth. I said, why not? So I gave it a try, and I fell in love with it only because, I'm a firm believer that if you want to know where you're going, you need to know where you came from. And this steakhouse is just the epitome of what Vegas was and what the town was built upon. And that's why I think it's so historic. And Mike has not changed a thing. I know you're going to change the carpeting soon, but other than that, everything's staying the same. And it's still waiters, tableside service, Bananas Foster tableside, Caesar salad tableside. That's some of the classics you don't see much more anymore.
That's right. And, you've kept it classic all these years. Why have you decided to hold the course while so many other steakhouses in town have all tried to change and get more modern? Very
bluntly, as a businessman, I just felt I couldn't compete if I didn't. This way, I'm something that somebody else can never be. Sinatra's not probably coming back. And the rest of the people, they can put pictures up, but they can't say that he's eating here.
Right.
He had a booth here, all Elvis did, or John Wayne, or anyone else like that. So I felt classicness and uniqueness and history can't be repeated, and it can't be built. It's either you have it or not. So I have something they can't build.
Right.
And so therefore it puts me in a unique position as a businessman. So I thought the biggest challenge I would have is providing first-class service, excellent food, a very clean environment, and a very amicable environment, so that I could be at a high level, but just offer a unique opportunity and a very a big boom town in America.
Yeah, but, Las Vegas has been through its ups and downs, and things have changed. You guys have remained the same, and you guys are staying consistent and in business. How do you continue to attract a crowd here every night when there's so many hundreds of steakhouses, it seems, up and down the Strip and in every, mall in the country? I mean, the city.
It's a great question, Glenn. And but if you think back and step back from it, it can be answered by this. It's quite simple, is that you can go to great restaurants all around the country, and there's great chefs in this town and great restaurants in this town. But you can go to Morton's in New York, for example, and other places like them, and in Chicago, but you only can go to Golden Steer in Vegas. So you only can go to the Eiffel Tower, the real Eiffel Tower in Paris. So we're the real Eiffel Tower of Vegas. Even though there is an Eiffel Tower here down the road, but the real Eiffel Tower of a restaurant is us. And so the key to staying classic and being historic is also be competitive in the quality of what you have. So this restaurant has never been run down. It's always been kept A+ as far as the carpeting, the flooring, the service, the kitchen. Everything is it might look like a Volkswagen, but it's got a Porsche engine underneath the Volkswagen.
Right, and it does. And one of the things that you said before we turned on the microphones is how important management is. Right. I'm curious as to what your philosophy is, and Kevin, tell me if you're on board with how you run your divisions over at Stratosphere.
Sure. Well, we'll let Kevin speak as well too, of course, but. I start at the top in management. I don't care if you run any business. I've run businesses where I've had 3,000 employees. It starts at the top, in my opinion. And I have a philosophy of that: be friendly, be fair, and let people have some say in the business. And there's been people here who've worked here as long as 42 years.
42 years.
They have a waiter here, Fabian's been here for 42 years.
Oh, my God.
And some of the chefs have been here for 25 years. So these people know what they're doing. So I come in and, if you have a thoroughbred horse and he knows what he's doing, you leave him alone. And you just manage and give him the tools he needs and manage the environment he's in and make sure that no customer leaves that's not satisfied. If there's a problem, then you say, what can I do to change that so we don't have that problem again? So it goes back to just solid management, treating your staff as family and not as just someone who gets a check each week.
Right. Now, Kevin, what he says makes absolute sense, and it seems, really like common sense. So why do you think that so many don't have that sensible approach to management and just can't get it right?
I'll be the first one to admit I don't have all the answers. And there's times I'm a half a sandwich short of a picnic. And I openly admit that. But I have to have the right people around me. I just simply get out of the way and let them do what they do best. Mike and I have shared many dinners here, and we share the same philosophies management-wise. And I think the true testament of how Mike's management style works with this restaurant is the repeat business. You have people that come here year in and year out every time they come to Vegas. If you look at some of the reviews, we came here on our honeymoon. 30 years later, they're still coming here. So something has to be working, and there you go. It's that simple.
Maybe I can relate a classic story if I may. Just probably, and it shows my naivete and also about me being a little prejudiced about the past, because in Vegas we see a lot. Right. And we hear a lot of stories, and people have always got names. I came in one night, it was about 8 o'clock at night, and we were packed, and nobody was answering the phone. I thought I'd pitch in, and I grabbed the phone. I believe in whatever needs to be done, be done. If I had to pick up a cigarette butt on the floor, I did. So I picked up the phone and said, Golden Steer, and he says, this is Mario Andretti. I said, okay. Mm-hmm. He said, the race car driver? He said, yes. He said, I'd like to come over and try your restaurant. He says, in about an hour. I said, I'm kind of booked tonight. And he said, could you make an exception just for two of us? And I said, I'll tell you what, because I didn't believe it was Mario Andretti. And I said, when you come in, ask for a Wyatt Earp, and I'll be here, and you can come in. So about an hour later, I'm in the back, and I had fallen asleep in the office because I've been working all day. And next thing you know, the manager says, Mike, Mario Andretti's here. I said, oh, shoot. So I walked out, and I walked up, and there was Mario Andretti, and he looked at me, and he says, I'm Mario Andretti, and you're not Wyatt Earp. and that's how we met 15 years ago.
Right.
And to this day, we have become the best of friends.
Right.
and we have a booth named after him, which he permitted me to do. And it's the only time he's ever done anything in his whole lifetime, he said, since he became famous, that he's done without counsel. So he sent me a photograph of himself, sent me free wine from his winery.
Nice.
Comes in regularly, has dinner with me, and we've become great friends. And I have to say, he's one of the most classic gentlemen I've ever met in my life.
Right. So it sounds to me like, this has become a real place because you said people come back over and over again. So it sounds to me like you've got a nice community here, a regular cast of characters that are here. So, Kevin, maybe give me a little insight to what it's like coming here on a, regular basis.
Well, one of the great things that I enjoy is coming here. Now, I'm a regular. I live here, okay? But I enjoy seeing people come in, they walk in, but more so when they walk out. Like, wow, that's not what I expected. This place was fantastic. And I'm talking younger generation to older people who've been coming here for 30 years. All the reactions are always the same. Was this what it was like back in the day? Is this what it was like when old school Vegas was here? And it's when you walk through the doors, you take a step back in time, which sometimes is not that great, but in this case, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's really very spot on. And I'm feeling that same kind of way too. I'm feeling we're sitting in a back room here right now. It's a private dining room, and it just feels like there were so many stories that happened here. And it just feels like this is the place that you can connect with emotionally to old Las Vegas. I really feel connected to history that way. And that, I think, is what's most important, is really having that sense of time, that sense of place. In the hotel industry, we spend a lot of time pretending to create that sense of place when it's not the actual. But here we are in the real type of space. So why was it never changed and updated? How did you manage to keep it like this for so long?
Actually, it's difficult to do, as some people would know. In the industry, it's if you got enough money, you can make something look very nice, like Wynn does, who I think is the Walt Disney to the gaming industry. To be respectful to the man, to give him credit where they do. But if you want to keep something old but yet workable, you've got to be careful, because the changes have to be so small almost that people can't notice the changes while you're staying competitive.
Right. So
it's time to keep something usable and workable. And yet be able to be competitive at the same time is almost more difficult to building something newer.
Right. Huh. That's interesting.
The expression, and it's been used 1,000 times, but, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, people would be disappointed if this changed. This is what they expect. For the past 30 years, that couple expect this restaurant to be the way it is when they walked in here as young kids 30 years ago.
Right, and that's and the same thing with the menu. You've got lots of classic dishes. I haven't seen oysters Rockefeller in a really long time, for example.
Right.
So they do get to have that same experience, and I guess it gets to be a multi-generational thing where the parents start to bring their children. They grow up and they do the same thing, and they connect with that nostalgia of the earlier parts of their lives by being in the same atmosphere, by tasting that same food, and really reliving that experience.
You hit it right on the spot, and we really can say literally that we now have not only the children but the grandchildren of our customers coming here from all around the world, not just Nevada or Las Vegas or America, but from the world, who've come in, and I've walked around to booths and introduced myself, and they'll say, "I'm from London, and this is my grandchildren."
All right.
We came here in the 50s. I go, wow, and they'll say, "I've noticed you've added a couple things in the menu, but much," and then they'll say, like, they'll actually pick out and they'll see the Rhode Island clam cakes or a cherry, something like that. But then the reason is I'm from Rhode Island.
Right.
So, that's the reason I put down there. I like Rhode Island clam cakes.
Kevin?
One of the things that I think is unique here is Vegas has done very well recently with international tourism, okay? I read the other day international tourism's like up 13.2% year over year. They do their homework. They're very savvy travelers. Here, they can see what old Vegas was like back in the day, and then they can run down the street or over across the street to SLS and see the modern, the Las Vegas Cosmopolitan City Center. But here, they can span basically 50 years from old Vegas to current Vegas, and that's something that not a lot of places you can do.
Right. That's Kevin right on over there?
Kevin, right on. You got to figure that we're in the city, and the Strip is in the county, and which is just across the street from us. And the city's been around about 103, 104 years, so we've been here half the length of life of the city of Las Vegas. The state's been around 150 years. They're celebrating the 150th anniversary right now. And so, as there's been comments made, like a friend of mine the other day said that, if we were in Boston, I might be Thomas Jefferson, operating a restaurant. And I was in the oldest operating restaurant in the United States recently in Boston, the EO Oyster House down at Nathaniel Hall. And I walked in and talked to the gentleman. I said, I come in here frequently. I said, you should put a picture of me on the wall. And the guy said, look, Thomas Jefferson drank here, and he didn't have a picture of it on the wall. So, I mean, what can I tell you? So, and we did that. So we haven't had many changes here, but the ones we've had have been fun and exciting. I think Kevin can say that. And I think that is Clams Casino. And I don't think anybody in Nevada, Las Vegas has Clams Casino, even the most famous chefs who I respect greatly in town and other restaurateurs. And then people say, Clams Casino. Well, Clams Casino, a lot of people don't realize, was actually invented in Narragansett, Rhode Island, where I'm from. And that's why I put it on there. And most people don't even know that, even the most famous chefs. But years ago, for the big hurricane in 1938, there was a casino in Narragansett, Rhode Island. And a very rich lady said to this chef, it's a true story, he said, let's do something different tonight with, I want something that's unique we've never had here before, with the clams. And he said, we're in a casino, you got clams, let me think of some things. He went back, put some bread crumbs and some bacon bits on top of some clams, baked them, brought them out to her, and she said, it's a true story, what did he call us? Clams Casino. And that was the invention of Clams Casino. And it's probably mostly found in Rhode Island. But, I brought it out and put it on the menu here. It's become a great item, but I'm not a chef that went to the Cordon Bleu School in Paris, but I just picked items that people would like.
Nice. But you are you are a real estate developer. You've been involved in the hotel business. You've been involved in the casino business, and now the restaurant business. What was it like back in the day working down in downtown Las Vegas, which was really where the hub of excitement was? Well,
downtown, which is Fremont Street to us, and was a different world altogether. It was an environment where you felt that there was a lot more freedom and you could be more casual, and the Strip was more kind of upscale, and that's what the perception was, because in those days people dressed differently as well. You would go in a casino and you would obviously be dressed up on the Strip, be at night in formal attire. In downtown you'd wear your cowboy boots and your cowboy hat, and so a little more laid back, and prices were different, and it was a little easier to win some money, maybe, and it was a little open-minded about things, and it still reminded you of the days maybe in the early 1900s. And so it was just totally two distinct environments. And I think what's happened in the past recently is that they're trying to merge the gaming industry together to the point where we're not, instead of having that separation, we're trying to put it all together. I mean, even though the gentleman who's been investing a lot of money down there, as we know, Mr. Shea, Tony Shea, he's doing a great job. But the point is that, downtown Vegas came about because of the cowboys. And part of the mob, as people refer to in those days, and trying to make it downtown Berkeley or downtown Silicon Valley is, I don't think, going to happen. I'd like to see it change, but I don't know what the answer is myself. But it's a real challenge. I'm glad someone is doing something down there, but it's like originally they tried to put in I was on the committee for downtown Fremont Street way back when, and they were going to the first idea was to put in gondolas and make the street water. Like in Venice.
That's pretty interesting.
And then I made the committee aware that the major water line for the county was under that street. You can't move the water line, so that's how the canopy came about.
One of the things that I find interesting is, you talk about downtown, the old Vegas. Here, every once in a while, not often enough, but every once in a while, you'll see a couple come in a jacket and tie, dressed to the nines, going out to dinner the way it was back in the day. And, to me, there's still something that has a value to that. On the other side of this wall, there's a booth out there, former Mayor Oscar Goodman and current Mayor Carolyn Goodman. They can go anywhere in town, but they come to the Steer.
Right.
Mike, what are they here? A couple times a month?
They're here often.
Hey, and even owns his own steakhouse, and he's still coming here.
Well, he has Oscars downtown.
Yeah.
Bruce, you travel a lot.
Right.
I mean, you're all over the country.
Let me officially introduce our surprise guest. No, I've been trying to incorporate him in, so thank you for doing that. Mr. Bruce Ford, Lodging Econometrics. Great to have you back, Bruce.
Hey, Glenn, it's great to be with you in Las Vegas. And Michael, this is really a pleasure. Thank you very much. Kevin, how are you?
Bruce, it's great to see you as always.
Good to see you. I love the discussion of old versus new. I think there is loads of room for that to remain in Las Vegas. I don't see Las Vegas as ever where I would want to say it feels the same from tip to tip. I would never want that to happen. And I love downtown Las Vegas and what it brings but I also love the Strip, and I love being right in the middle of the Strip. I constantly ask local people in Las Vegas, how do you experience things around town, and how do you go about your daily life? When you go out, do you choose to, am I going to go out to the Mirage tonight, or am I going to go out to Aria tonight? And they said, no, never. And he says it's little pockets of things that I'll go do there, but I much more enjoy not being on Las Vegas Boulevard than being on Las Vegas Boulevard. And, one of the first things when you come to Las Vegas, you think about the Strip, and it's really quite an amazing thing. It's so very different. So it's nice to go back in time. I mean, here we are at the Golden Steer, and you've got, the red leather benches and the way it used to be. And you see it in the old movies, and you're like, I'm looking around and I'm going, that's great. I got to go sit in one of those booths tonight just to kind of soak it all in, because it is that great. And Mike, one of the things I was thinking about was when you took over the restaurant 15 years ago, did you find any cache of all of the kind of great old photos and things like that were kind of hidden away or tucked into the back of a storage closet that you're holding on to some of those old memories?
We had a cache, that's a good word, of items, particularly guns and pictures that, unfortunately, my original colleagues were no longer with me, decided that they'd be better off being auctioned than kept, which was a big mistake, and I was out of town at that time, so that was unfortunate. But they were here, and
almost things donated to the time capsule,
right? But I have to say that. And Kevin alluded to it. It was actually stated a few while back. I have to give a lot of credit to, particularly the past mayor Oscar Goodman and the current mayor Carolyn Goodman, who's a dear friend. That they were the first two persons I actually met in this town 40-some years ago when I came here.
Wow!
When we all were just young people, all three of us.
That's amazing.
And they've been very supportive of me, both personally and in business. And I could never pay them back for what they've done for me as individuals and as mayors of this town.
Now they've even dedicated a day every year to you.
Right, the present mayor Carolyn has done that. I'm very flattered and honored. Yes.
Well, tell us about that. What day of the year is it?
I believe it's April 7th, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
At least it's not April 1st. So.
Right. So, do you have any big plans for Michael Signorelli Day?
Well, usually that's just to go out and have some good wine and have some clams casino.
Michael, I look forward to being able to see what your favorite wine selection is on that list tonight.
Good. It'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, so we were talking about downtown Las Vegas a lot. So, Bruce, he made a good point. Do you agree that something needs to be done, but the direction it's going in now is not right?
There's been a lot of back and forth, and I'm sure Michael is in on this and Kevin's in on this. So much back and forth about how do you market Las Vegas, and Kevin talked a little bit about the international traveler, and that is so important to the tourism market here and continues to be, because I've used a statistic most of my career that continues to be refreshed and maintained. But when you and I go on vacation, Glenn, as Americans, we spend about $1,000 a week on average. An international traveler coming to the United States spends $7,000 a week per person. And that's a tremendous difference. And Las Vegas obviously offers so many options to spend that money.
Right, slot machines and table games.
Slot machines and table games and restaurants and shopping. And it's such even a different experience than the first time I came here in 1987. Such a different experience today from what it was then. In many cases, I enjoy the old heritage of Las Vegas, and I enjoy having a little bit of the old with the new. And I think, when people ask me, they're like, well, I'm coming to the United States for the first time, where should I go? And they say, well, the first thing they say is New York. And I say, well, go to Las Vegas, go to Dallas, go to some of these places with the history and really feel what it's like to in Las Vegas, it was the wild, wild west for a long, long time.
Do you think Las Vegas has lost that sense of its own history because it rebuilds itself so quickly?
Very bluntly, I'd have to say that, and this is being pretty aggressive in my comments here, but that's a great question. I think it's the corporate mentality, and I'm part of the corporate mentality myself years ago because I brought companies public, and so I got to be careful how I say this, particularly to my friends on Wall Street, but. I think we grew too fast, even if the economy was good, and spent too much money on the Strip. And it reminds me of a boom town back in the 1800s, which the money came out and built San Francisco, but in reality, it was too much spent, and we finally did overbuild. When you figure we take a paper napkin out and we have 150,000 rooms, give or take, and you multiply, say, 2 times that per room persons times even 70% occupancy times 365 days, we need 100 million people to come here versus 40 million people to fill the rooms up.
Wow.
Now you're going to do that in a paper napkin.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe they're going to have to build an airlift. But it's all about numbers. You have billions of people in Macau and China. It's not just they like gaming more, it's a population thing. We never have matured as a community. That's a fact, not my opinion. I mean, you don't find open ground in New York or Chicago. Okay? So we're out here building high-rises a few years ago. For what reason? Right. I mean, we're not Hong Kong, and we're not Manhattan, where we've got limited space. Right. You got hundreds of acres on the Strip, and you're out building a high-rise. So this is not post. This is not post thinking. This was told by people before. Okay, that it just you've got a service industry environment. You've got a no income tax and no estate tax, no inventory tax. So therefore, it attracts people to come. But we're also not Aspen, we're not Hawaii, we're not Hong Kong, we're not New York, we're a gambling town. But the problem is gambling is now a very small percentage of the state.
40%?
Maybe less. Yeah. And gaming is, I think Steve Wynn put it very succinctly a while back, is in a place where the last thing we need in Nevada is one more slot machine. Yeah. And we have millennials out there now who rather spend time playing with their laptops and doing other things in video games than putting anything in a slot machine or even knowing how to play craps.
But they are okay with $750 for a bottle of vodka.
That's right, but that's not going to keep pay back $1 billion loan.
Right. Yeah. What do you think, Kevin? Is he on target?
Absolutely. I think, and Bruce alluded to this a little bit. You have to market to so many different demographics. First of all, accept that fact that you're never going to please everybody, but you have to try to cover a span, a generation of age from millennials to someone like me, 56 years old, and you have to cover that span. I think Vegas has done a very good job of adapting to change as they needed to. Did they overbuild? Yes. I think it was either Jim Murin from MGM or Gary Loveman from Caesars, but one of them said we were spending and building like drunken sailors, and that's how much money they were spending. And I think lessons learned, that they've calmed down, they've tightened things up a little bit, and it'll be fine. It's evolved like it always has been, and again, to the testament of this restaurant, it'll stand the test of time. So
And in many cases, what I think Las Vegas has, in this town, it was probably a bigger bump in 2008 than it was in 2001. Clearly, 2008, when you started to add up all the construction and the immediate almost stoppage of conventions coming to Las Vegas, it was worse here in 08 than it was in 01. And
greatly magnified.
It still continues to have lingering effects. I don't think it's lasting much longer. I think it feels like Las Vegas, and especially, I'm always measuring this when I come to town, but the convention business seems to be returning at a level that's palpable, that continues to prop up the hotels, and it's certainly a transition time. You see a lot more remaking and reimagining of space today than you do building new.
Right. I agree with you, and I think that's why it was really smart for Caesars to build that Link project, for example, as opposed to dumping a lot more money into a brand new hotel and turning Bill's Gambling Saloon into the Cromwell, which made a lot of sense. But, Bruce, yes, the group business is coming back. I spoke a couple of weeks ago to Michael Dominguez. He's the Senior Vice President of Global Sales with MGM Resorts. And he says business is really coming back, not just in the city, but in general with group business. But the problem here is that you're getting the people, but they're not spending like they used to. Do you feel, Michael, that that's going to come back at all, or is just this is the way it is?
I think they're going to keep spending and keep coming, as Kevin's saying, but it won't be coming here for the gaming reasons. They're coming here for the shows. They're coming here for the food. They're coming here for the weather. They're coming in for the excitement and the reputation of Vegas. And it's like the best analogy I can use is that there might be a lot of theme parks in the world, but there's only one Disneyland.
Right.
There's only one Vegas, but to go back to what this other gentleman said, which I think very distinctly he said, I think 2008 was a pivotal time more in Vegas than any place else in the country because of the building that went on here. And it's not because of poor planning or bad management. We have some bright people in this country, in this town, I mean. And I think Tony's doing a great job downtown. I think it's I'm so glad the person of that ilk is down there trying to do something with downtown, because without him down there doing something, I don't know what would happen, okay, with all due respect. But at the same time, and if you talk to anybody in the industry, we have a situation where money has been spent that has to be paid back. And how do you pay back billions of dollars when now you've got for-profit centers called food and beverage and hotel and entertainment and retail, which has pension plans and employees and product you got to buy, and the bottom line is not there, as opposed to a slot machine that went down, that had no employees and never showed up sick, and if you had a problem with the machine, you just opened it up, slid in another computer board, and away you went.
Right.
Okay. I would go as far as to say, and it's a pretty big prediction, I made some in the past, that shortly you won't see slot machines, but you'll see laptops. There'll be no slot machines in the casinos, but maybe a version of a slot machine, but not one standing on a pedestal.
Right. I think they're also going to be really gamifying them a lot more, too, to try to capture that younger audience who's grown up with their faces in a computer screen.
Yes, but that person doesn't want to sit there for 6 hours and have a free drink and keep pulling the handle while playing that machine, in my opinion.
Well, they have to go wait on a long line for a club. So. Well,
right, but I actually think one of the smartest things we could do is actually hire a consulting firm who have psychologists and sociologists and start looking at the millennials and what they want in life going forward over the next 5 to 10 years.
Right.
And apply it to the business world and say, okay, how do we get people to be interested in gaming and modify the games we have and the way we game? I think we're actually right now in the horse and buggy era by having slot machines on pedestals out there, and I think that possibly could be a reason why, as we all know, that 2 weeks ago IGT got sold.
Yes.
There's been a tremendous amount of evolution in how the gaming product is delivered here. I mean, you see, roulette games where there is no pitman. I mean, it's basically an electronic version, and less human interaction and more automation to many types of games. I mean, one of the things I've seen this time that's kind of knocking me over a little bit around is the explosion of branding in Las Vegas. You drive by Aria, so I know how they were paying their mortgage. It's that enormous Dolce & Gabbana across the front of the building. Okay, people recognizing the brand name. The store is almost irrelevant how well it does. Right. It's the brand hanging over Las Vegas Strip, and you think of the neon and what that did and how that defined Las Vegas for so many years. Maybe that neon or that imaging is coming back in a different kind of way with many of these brands, and I saw enough of it driving up and into Aria a couple times while I've been here, and I think that's kind of moving on too, and you're starting to see it in more places and more recognizable. So that's some way to, quote, generate more revenue that's not restaurant, it's not gaming, but it's visual, you know.
But, you know, I think you bring up an excellent point, but let me say that after being here and seeing the evolution every decade and reinventing the town, and I think you see a situation now where we can project. In the past, we could maybe tell that after 2008, most of the gaming companies, literally within 2 to 3%, their revenues for the year, 12 months out, other than for baccarat play. Now they can't do that because those whales, as they refer to, don't have a need to come here.
Right, especially with Macau.
If you look at the gaming extracts the state puts out, without having that, you've got challenges.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And the gambler and the average guest here is different than he was back then, and it would be fair to say that, you know, now that you can gamble in 32 states in the United States where they have ground up casinos, Las Vegas has got to once again morph into, as you said, Michael, so eloquently, there's only one Disney World, and says there's only one Las Vegas, and continuing to offer those experiences, tracking heritage as well as history, and putting some modern flair to it. I think there's so much of everything available for you.
Yeah, you know, to your point, Bruce, at the G2E conference, the Global Gaming Conference, Steve Wynn opened the conference, and again, Mike, to your point, the man is the icon of the industry.
If you're actually interested in hearing that interview, I posted it on the Hotel Interactive Facebook page. I got a copy of that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. He said, anywhere in this country you can drive an hour and a half and find a slot machine. Yeah. What differentiates Vegas is you have a slot machine, but you don't have the Vegas experience there at that slot machine. So people will continue to come and experience things that they can't get at home. And as long as they can, and he was a proponent of this, as long as they can continue to offer things that are non-gaming. Again, New York is building a park like
and an arena,
Central
right?
Park, outside. It's the paradigm change is getting people out of the casino. Before it was bringing them into the casino, and I think that's a change that is going to be very monitored and measured, and see the success of that.
I saw it for the first time, the Mirage, where we were staying this time. When you hit the elevator to go to 0 level, it doesn't say casino anymore. It says lobby.
Right.
That's the first time I noticed that.
Good observation. So,
either because stand for loser. But
So what do you make of all of this? This big sea change now that's pulling people out of the casinos. You've already said that one of the problems is that the gaming revenue is a much smaller percentage of it. So is this, you know, making a big mistake, or is it actually adapting with the times and being smart?
I don't believe they have a choice. It's not being something they're creating. It's just naturally occurring. It's a natural consequence.
So they're responding more to the way people are behaving.
Right. I mean, it's just a natural evolution of people in our society. That's and I'm speaking, having received my doctorate degree in psychology, but not practicing anymore. I've sort of looked at human behavior over the years as both as a businessman and as a psychologist.
Yeah. Do you think that gaming has become so widespread here in the United States that when people come to Vegas, they don't feel as compelled to play as much?
I think they just did a study recently to find that to be the case. That 87% of the people, according to the last study that the Convention Authority did, and Rossi Rodenkoffler, who runs it, did, and he's a very good at what he does. I think they quoted saying that most people come here, a large majority, to do other things, but while they're here, they do gamble. They feel like it's like going to Disneyland and not seeing Mickey Mouse. So they want to gamble while they're here. That's a poor analogy.
Right.
But
no, it's not a poor analogy at all. We talk about it. We've talked about it before, and I think that the casino resort business has turned from a casino to a resort that happens to have a casino, and that's been such a seminal shift in this business, and everyone has to rethink everything now.
Yeah. I just think it's the day of the large hotels and casinos are gone, and what we see now is something we may not see again during our lifetime. Even though you have a large company coming to town, Genting, that bought the Stardust property from Bill Boyd, who is a friend and does frequent this restaurant, I have a huge amount of respect for, who's what I call the father of gaming in this town in a lot of ways, along with Kirk Kerkorian. You have a situation, though, that right now that they're going to have to, in my opinion, who am I to tell a multi-billion-dollar successful company what they should not or should do? But you're going to have to have a self-contained almost town property that has 60-some acres to make it work. And give them an experience where they want to do something more than just gamble.
It's going to take years to build that out. And I was interested in Genting and purchasing that property versus buying the Cosmopolitan. As we all know, they were bidding on that, and they're probably going to end up spending more to develop what they're going to do with the property they purchased than if they would have just bought the operating asset at the Cosmopolitan at the center of the Strip. So I haven't heard too much yet about the substance of exactly what they want to do, but knowing what the footprint is, the requirements will be pretty substantial, I would think.
Well, and to respond to that, ironically, I don't want to get in details about it, but I was originally involved. I was asked to be involved in the initial construction of the Cosmopolitan.
Really?
And I was trying to purchase the Riviera at the time, so I figured it was a little bit too much trying to do both. And the original owner, who was taken out and then replaced, and then finally Deutsche Bank finished it, of course, Deutsche Bank. But I know a little bit about that situation. I'd have to say that the property is beautiful, obviously, but with all due respect, and that's just who am I to say anything about these successful people with all this money, but I think it was too large a property and too small a footprint. And I don't know if when you have a property of that size with that much money, if you're not contained as your future, how much money you can make.
Right.
I ran into that when I was downtown. I had a property that was 34 stories high, but everything was built around me, so I never could advance. I was always stuck only with what I had. I never could build. So not to debate, but just to take the opposite side, with the property they bought, which is a large piece, the largest on the Strip you can buy right now, the way they've got it set up, they can do all kind of unique things. They could subdivide, they could lease out, they could joint venture and do a lot of different things to get the money back, I think, over a longer period of time, as you say, with less risk. And so I think the size of the property makes it much more worthwhile than buying an existing property. That's what that'd be my response.
And can they create the next Las Vegas casino hotel that is where the gambling tickets can actually increase? Because I think the last few that have opened, you would say that their expectations have not even close to been met.
That's a fair statement.
I think you have a lot of big egos, to be honest with you, and big money chasing a dream, which they want to do. It's like somebody wanting to buy a sports team because they have plenty of money and nothing else to do with it. Okay, and,
right.
But if I had somebody going to give me $1 or $2 billion, right, came to do something, I think I might find another place to do with it than another build hotel casino.
Right.
How long does it take to get it back?
Kevin, this is on your turf and by the Stratosphere that this whole thing is going on. It seems to me that you'd want to encourage the development, get more people down in your general area. What are your hopes to see from that area between that property and the ones around it?
Yeah, I mean, for a while, Mike and I have been islands. You have the Steer here and you have the Stratosphere over there. The Sahara closed down and sat empty for a while. Other than after the Riviera, there was nothing until you got to the Stratosphere. Now the development of SLS opened. Across the street will be Rock and Rio, which is owned by MGM. I've come to find out that the world's largest souvenir shop, the Bonanza, was sold to MGM, and they're going to be building a tower there.
Really?
So this is all coming north towards Fremont Street, and it's just going to enhance the experience for the person who can go south, the Mandalay Bay area, city center in the middle, and then venture north. Now it's a complete destination now.
I totally agree with what Kevin is saying. I think we've become, with the traffic flow here, a north and south town, just like New York is with lower Manhattan, upper Manhattan.
Yeah, might as well be a different city.
Right, okay. The concern I have is that we have depended for years on the FITs, which we call the free independent traveler in the industry. And we need that vehicle traffic here, as well as the airport traffic, both, to make it work. There's quite a transition, and we need to go through on the highway system between here and California, and maybe come up with another system, maybe monorail or something else between here and California. That may take years to come.
Well, they were talking about that high-speed rail that seems to have gone
maglev. But that could be so many years away. Realistically, I don't think it have the impact we need now.
Right.
And so I'm really concerned about that, and about no matter what you bring here, how do you bring enough people here? It's all about numbers in the game to make it pencil out right, quick enough to take care of the past debt before you take care of anything new. I'm not trying to be negative. I love
you're not being negative. I think you're very, very level-headed and making a lot of sense.
I love this town dealing. It's been great to me. I've enjoyed being here for almost 50 years. People have been great to me. And also, I think one thing I need to touch upon a little bit is that we've had a lot of new introduction of new federal regulations, which the government probably had to put in place. And that's had a tremendous impact on the gaming here. Not they should not have done it, because there probably was a lot of money coming here that probably should have gone someplace else, but it came here. And so they needed to do that, okay? But when you start tracing money all the way down to the last dollar, it gets a little disconcerting to a lot of people, okay? So federal regulations actually, which have now started to impact our town and our state and our industry, in my opinion. So I think that's a concern when you get in this industry.
Yeah.
And for example, real quick, if I may add,
of course,
is when I came to this community, when we had the soft and hard count room, hard count being the coins and the soft count the bills,
right.
You literally, if you own the property, controlled that room. So you could go in and say to somebody, if it works for you, he was working for you, leave the room for 30 minutes, I want to stay here by myself, there's nothing you do about it. You don't know what he took in or took out.
Right.
And then
otherwise called
changed.
The skim.
Right.
Right. And so but when I opened up my hotel casino, which I built in 1998, I needed to sign so many papers, have so many people with me to walk into my own cage. It was incredible.
Yeah.
My money, but I had to be watched and videotaped to walk into my own bank.
Wow.
So that's quite a transition if you think about it. That is never touched upon that much, but you've got a system where you can go in and take whatever you want to a point where now you're checked like you are with the SEC or the public company or the FDIC with a bank.
Do you think Vegas is much better off the way it is, very corporate, Wall Street, billions of dollars coming in, or was it better in the old school way?
I don't know if better is the word, to be honest with you, as much as that it probably needed to change, because maybe it could never grown the way it was if public companies didn't come, and we didn't, and we would have been running amok of the law, okay, and at a high level. You know, people always say without Hoover Dam or Boulder Dam, whichever we're going to call it, we wouldn't be no Vegas. But in reality, what made Vegas was the invention of the air conditioner.
Right. Yeah.
People seem to forget that, because you're not going to put swamp coolers in a 64-story building.
No. Right.
So we got to give a lot of credit to that man. And I think we talk about Bugsy Siegel and all these other people. I think we should have the guy who invented the air conditioner, his statue out on the center of the strip.
Very wise words. All right, so we've been talking for a really long time, and I'm feeling like we need to wrap up now. I know you have somewhere to go, but before we go, I would be remiss. I have Kevin over here from Stratosphere. Tell us a little bit about what's going on your property. You made a lot of changes there recently, especially especially up at the top. I think you redid the whole bar. What's going on?
Yeah, again, trying to constantly improve, build a better mousetrap. We renovated the top of the tower. The brand new restaurant completely renovated since the last time you were there. So I would like for next time trip out, let's go have dinner over there. Then we'll stop over and see Mike, and we'll have a cocktail afterwards. Working on a couple things. Potentially doing a projection on the tower, looking at that and illuminating the north end of the strip. We're going to renovate some suites, redoing some carpet, and just continually putting capital back into the property to make it a better place.
That's great, and that's so important. You've got to stay competitive. Do you get over to the Stratosphere, Michael, or you just pretty much just stay here?
No, well, I become part of the walls here. Like if the walls could speak, we write quite a novel, but it'd have to be fiction to protect the innocent here. But I do get over once in a while, and I'm very impressed with what Kevin and his associates have done over there, and they have with that tower. It does make it a very unique center point for the community. I think there's a lot more can be done, and thank God Kevin's there to do it. They can be done with that property, but he inherited what's there. So what he's going to do now is add some creativity, which he's doing.
Yeah, which I really like. I like what you guys have done throughout the property.
Yeah, and I think thinking what's happening in Las Vegas over the next couple of years, it'll be a few $1 billion in renovations of hotel resorts in Las Vegas over the next couple of years. That's almost subtly underpinning it and undershooting it.
Fair statement.
But there's so much remaking, some expansion. We're seeing some convention space expansion inside of some of the larger resorts. I think offering that flex space, improving technology in those locations, continuing to reimagine what the trade show ought to be is, Las Vegas should be leading the world in that in terms of where they really want to go long term. Because to fill a 3,000-room hotel 2 nights a week is a nice idea, but you kind of got to do it 7 nights a week.
Exactly.
As Michael's been reminding
Sheldon also did quite well with the convention space.
Kevin, just back to the Stratosphere for a second. I think one of the things that people really love to do is they like to get out at night, go up to the tower. What's a perfect night for somebody to do up in the tower? You got that nice bar up there too, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have a happy hour from 4 to 7, 2-for-1s, half-price appetizers, the same appetizers you can get at the Top of the World, which is a 5-star restaurant.
And one of the top 25 grossing restaurants in the country.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. One of the things that is unique is the 5,000 people a day go to the top of that tower. 4,000 are non-Stratosphere guests.
Wow.
So it's quite a draw. It's a unique experience. And one of the things that you can't do in most places in this country is jump off of it. You can actually strap on a harness, hook yourself up to a cable, and jump 1,000 feet off a tower. So it's a unique experience.
It is a unique experience, one that Kevin's been trying to convince me to do, and will have to continue to try to convince me to do for years to come, because there's no way I'm jumping off the side of that building.
We'll get you on it.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what you guys have in store next, because each ride seems to be crazier than the last. Just finding ways to mess with you by dumping you off the side of the building.
It's all about adrenaline, and we're already some things in the works right now.
I know, which we can't reveal here, but I think it's going to be really exciting. I mean, that you getting those people to jump off the side of the building, you really got to make a reservation for that. It's so incredibly popular.
You have to make a reservation. It's been well documented. I mean, we've had people come from out of the country to jump just to say they've done it. It's the tallest structure west of the Mississippi River. It's the tallest controlled decelerator ride in the world. There's only 3, New Zealand, Macau, and Vegas.
Wow.
And you jump off, you do 45 miles an hour for 750 feet, and you go from 45 to 0. You land, unhook you go inside, and hopefully buy something in a gift shop.
Especially the video.
Especially the video, exactly.
And Kevin will probably be the first company to offer, marijuana cookies before you take that ride.
Right.
It's all about the experience.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, let's wrap up. This is Michael. This is the part that I like to call shameless plugs, a chance for you to share with everybody. Tell us a little bit about where they could find you here at the Golden Steer and all the important information so they come on by.
Well, thank you. We're located at 308 West Sahara on Las Vegas, near the corner of Sahara and the famous Las Vegas Strip. We're open every day from 4:30 to 11 o'clock at night, except for Christmas Day. Nights only, no lunch, and We specialize in the best steaks on earth and some great seafood, and we're kind of casual here, and we get a lot of international travels, and it's always an exciting evening here.
Yeah, it looks like it. And guys, I can't recommend enough. If you want to touch that old school Las Vegas, really feel what it was like to be here back in the days, you've got to come down to the Golden Steer.
Well, that'll do it. I hope you enjoyed that great blast from the past that you just experienced right there. Wasn't that an incredible conversation? It was really fascinating to me. And getting the perspective of two consummate insiders in the town was really neat to hear. I love that insider point of view. It makes me feel like a part of that gritty town, and that's the cool thing about Las Vegas. It's such a small community, and once you really start to meet a few people, well, boom, you seem to know everybody. All right. So thanks a lot. Hope everyone had a great time listening to the show, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I do figure out how to get that Wayback Machine working and I transport myself back to the Rat Pack era in Vegas. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.